It's recording now. So it's an interesting way to have a conversation. But when you're talking like what Will and I were just going over there, for example, we are looking at his issue rate, right? And the reason why we're looking at that is because his leads are canceling at a higher rate, and there's not really a good reason why or a bad reason why. It's just the way that his numbers are looking is like, man, all these people. Oh, I don't have enough time right now. Had this emergency come up, and if you look at it, and what we're addressing was there's no real clear reason why that's happening. Will's doing a good job on this and a good job on that. There's no real clear reason why that's happening. However, when you dig deeper, you could say, hey, if you slow down a little bit more, then people are going to gather more of what you say. And if they gather more of what you say, they're going to take it more seriously. And then they're not going to do things like cancel their appointment, right? So that's the avenue that we work down there with, right? Now, the thing that we're going to go over today, guys, is getting, and I wanted to really just talk to people that really wanted to get next level with the job, because I feel like one of the struggles that we have right now is that we have a lot of people that are just kind of going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? And that's always going to be a thing. You're always going to have that. I would actually argue that it's normal for, and it's really hard to change it. A department this big, at least half of the people that you have are not going to care enough to actually make significant changes. And they are just working off of either their natural talent or they're working off of time. They'll get some leads in there. So the big thing that nobody will say, right, is that probably not half our department, but probably 20% of our department, they are here to get a couple leads a week until they are not here anymore. Okay? That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Who the fuck would want that? The cost on that is tremendously higher. There's no reason to want that, but that's just a reality, right? And so my job is, and what we need to do a better job of as leaders, is to identify the people that care more and prepare them to do better, because those are the people that are going to get the 5, 6, 10 demos a week. The other people are going to get the 2, 3s, and 4s, and they're going to be happy with that. And that's fine, because that cost wise, they still fit into the system, right? They're still getting leads. Their leads are going to sell more often because they're not writing as many, whatever the case is, right? So they still have their value. It's just different. And the real victim of their own attitudes and whatever is themselves. They're the ones that are causing their own problems. You know, does that make sense? So let's talk about these things. I'm going to make notes with you guys. My suggestion is I'm going to do this because I know some of you guys might be driving and stuff like that. My suggestion is going to be for you to take notes, and to take these notes, which I will send along with the video when I send the video out. Okay, so you'll have those notes too. But the first thing I want to go over, guys, is these notes that I wrote for a canvasser one day 2 years ago. Okay. And the reason I want to touch on this, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I want to touch on this, is because one of the things that you can't decide, and you shouldn't have to, by the way, because it should be pretty consistent, is who your team lead is or what they do with their time. You can impact it, by the way. Okay. And by the way, I'm not hinting at any specific team lead, because I wouldn't even know this. I'm not prepared to. But what I'm saying is that if they're not doing these things, I'll put this challenge out there. Okay, I'm going to put out an NPS survey really soon, and it's going to detail. It's going to question what we need to do to get better as we go into the winter. And you guys have filled these out before, okay? But it's going to ask people to be really honest about their teams and about what they need in order to do better. One of those things that I'm going to challenge you to do is, as somebody that wants to grow, you need to challenge your team lead. You really need to. And in that sense, maybe the team lead's not the issue. Maybe no one's the issue, or maybe their manager needs to work with them more on how to do this stuff. Okay, or maybe I do. Maybe I'm accountable for it and I need to. Doesn't matter. Accountability only matters to the point where, again, we're trying to make people better. We're not going to, if you say, hey, my team lead's not doing this to me separately, I'm not going to fire your team lead. I'm going to say, hey, how do we get you to get on this and do this? So I just want to make that clear here, because I think when I go through this stuff, it's almost like I'm coming at directly what some people are doing. And by the way, there is other ways to do this just as effectively, or more so maybe, that I don't know about. That being said, if that's happening, that's fine. If you feel like the training that you're getting is making you better, then that's great. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay. So the thing that should happen is you should know your numbers all the time. Now, even if your team lead doesn't know this, okay, your team lead's going to know your numbers, by the way, too. I'm not saying that, but even if your team lead doesn't go through this with you, then this is something that you can go through and track yourself. And by the way, you're going to find interesting things when you do. You might find that, hey, the numbers are off in the system and I need to check my leads. Will and I just had to check some of his leads because it looked like they weren't in the system. I think what we realize is that they're either resales, which will show up in a different place under your name, or they are callback set, but one of those two. Oh, let's do this real quick. I actually forgot about this, and now I'm going to do this on here because I forgot. It's Chadwick's birthday today. Okay, it's Chadwick's birthday today. I'm going to need you guys' collective help. There's like 5 of you on this meeting right now. We're going to sing happy birthday to Chadwick. You don't got to turn your cameras on, but I need you to help me with this. So if you can, please, can you help me with this? I won't even tape your name so nobody knows who you are. Can you guys help me with this real quick?
Absolutely, Paul.
Got you.
All right, awesome. All right.
I got you, Paul.
All right.
Let's run it.
We're going to start on 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Chadwick. Happy birthday to you. That was terrible, guys. Thank you. We're way out of key. That's so funny. I'm gonna send that to him. So that's great. Let's see. All right, let's run it. We're gonna start on 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to. That's so funny. That's great. So, anyways, his wife paid to have a jester come to the office yesterday to mess with him and sing to him and stuff. It was weird. It's funny. So, anyways, so tracking your numbers as an employee here is most important. Will has a great system for this. Will was showing me where he tracks his numbers today and where he tracks his leads. And he actually, in his notes in his iPhone, he codes them with like emojis. So he knows, okay, this is a cancellation. This is something that I need to go back and call or whatever. So he has that information readily available to him with on his device every day, right? And that's an important thing. That's something that can help out a ton, okay, for you. All right. Now, there's you could track through Enabled. The biggest thing that I think everybody here needs to do, if you want to be next level, is you have to know what leads you're writing, what's canceling, and what's not canceling. This is super important to your success on your team. Okay, so let's go through that real quick. All right, so I'm going to put the numbers up for the month from each person. You know what? We're going to go with last month. I think that makes the most sense. We'll start at last month. Okay. So I'm gonna put the numbers up for each person in this meeting. Okay.
Hey, Paul, you said you'd be posting this in GroupMe later, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I got to start getting ready for my wife's baby shower.
Oh yeah, man, do your thing. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna post this in GroupMe definitely.
Okay, sounds good. I'll catch you later.
All right, sounds good, man. Thank you. Have fun with that.
Yes. Thank you, man. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Bye. All right, so still gonna put his numbers up there. So these are the numbers right now. Now, obviously, Noah's been here for less time than everyone else, so you know that's gonna. I'm not gonna focus too much on that because obviously that there's not a lot of numbers there. But let's look at this real quick. Okay, so if I'm looking at leads booked, okay. I got Colby in first at 42. Okay, Lane in second at 38. Will in third at 37. Kid at 32, and then Noah obviously at 7. Issue rate. Okay, we got Lane in first at. Lane in first at 53, meaning a cancellation rate of 47%. Kid in second at 46.9. That's a cancellation of 53%. Will at 43. Okay, so now we're getting to the higher levels of cancellation there, getting close to 60%. And then Colby, you at 33. So that's close to a 70% cancellation rate. Okay, so that's what's affecting some of you guys' numbers there, is that I would actually put you guys in the red, in the yellow, and in the green. Okay, but barely in the green. Okay, demo rate, this is going to look a lot different. We have Colby at a 93% demo rate. So Colby has had, even though he's got a high amount of cancellations here, more demos go through than let's say someone that has a much lower cancellation rate like Elaine, because of demo rate specifically. Okay. Kid has a great demo rate as well at 87%, which has got him a good amount of production from those demos as well. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is looking at leads booked and ran in that month. So you might go, I had way more than 13 demos in a month. Yes, they could have came from callbacks or previous months. So stuff like that could impact that greatly. Okay. So the demo rate, you guys down here specifically, you Will and Elaine, your demo rate is the most concerning thing I'd say there, because it's 6 in 10 of your appointments. So that can double your income, and it would, by the way, too, put you in the best place on this list. So anyways, you want to know this, okay? You want to know this, right? Now I look at close rate too. Nathan Kidd is doing remote, and look at his close rate. It's 46.2%. Now, unfortunately, we had a lot of small orders. So what we're going to want to do next month is we're going to want to look at where he's canvassing and go, okay, can we get you into some areas of opportunity? One thing up in West that's going on that we could talk about. So here's the thing. So you have your numbers now. Okay. So that's the first thing I'm going to put on my note list here, is to have your numbers. Okay. Just going to put that right here. Number one, know your numbers like the back of your hand, and make decisions based off those numbers, not assumptions. About numbers, off those specific numbers. Okay. A lot of people would look at their numbers there and they would go, oh, okay. I need to write, my issue rate is low. I don't know what to do with that. They would go, maybe I need to write less leads, right? Or something like that. They would make negative assumptions off of that. You want to look at your numbers and go, okay, proactively, what can I do and what do they mean? What is the easiest way for me to gain, okay, influence, and what's the difference between me and other people in these numbers? So for example, I look at Kids numbers and I go, okay, his close rate's really good. Why is that going to happen? Well, he's focused on setting quality appointments. Okay. Everybody should be. He's still, by the way, setting a good amount of appointments. It's not like he's focusing on setting quality appointments and setting 5 appointments per month, right? If someone's setting a very low amount of appointments, they can't tell me that they're focused on quality. They can tell me that they're not focused on getting leads, right? Like it's a big difference there, right? Kid can make the argument if I'm focused on quality, given his demo rate and his issue rate, dictate that. Okay, they're both decent to good, and his close rate. I'm sorry. So if I'm Nathan Kidd and I'm looking at my numbers because he is remote and sales do matter to him, I'm going to go, okay, I'll tell you what, maybe I need to examine where I'm going next month, because maybe I need more job sizes. It's not even about lower income houses not being able to afford our windows. They're buying our windows. I need a larger job size. Okay. One thing I would look at too is I would look at the resulting of those leads. What are we setting those leads for? Are the sales reps selling what we are setting those leads for, or are they breaking down the job size for us? Now, one thing that I would learn from this, for example, if I looked into this, which I have, is up in West, we have and in North, especially in North, we have this huge problem where we are getting way too specific with job size. So I know we want to be somewhat specific. We want to go, well, what windows do they need the most work with? Their bedroom windows are the worst. We're going to come out and look at their bedroom windows. But we don't want to do that for no reason. Meaning ultimately, you want the customer to agree with a quote on the entire house. Okay. You can break down for them what kind of windows they're having problems with, but you don't want to set up leads for windows that don't have issues. The reason, or windows that are you don't want to set up leads for just one window or two windows. We looked at every cancellation for a week for North and for West. And the thing that we found with all these cancellations is almost all of them, guys, almost all of them were set up for a very specific job or window. 4 basement windows, 1 kitchen window, 1 front entry door, 3 windows in the bedroom. Almost all of them, which means that we're getting pretty granular in the conversation, right? We got to be breaking that down pretty well, okay, for customers, but we're not stressing the importance of getting the quote. Because if you're telling me, well, yeah, no big deal, we'll just come out and see this one thing. Oh yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't make it feel like it's important for me to do it. It's one window, it's not a big deal, right? So the better thing to do would be to try for the entire job. How can I get this person to agree to have me come out to look at all of their windows? And then as needed, based on their income, like if they were to say something like yeah, I'm on a fixed income or I don't have a lot of money right now or whatever, then I would start to break down the job size. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Jones, we do consider that. And what I'll do instead is have somebody come out and just take a look at this one window that's giving you a big issue, because it will save you a lot of time and money. Okay. So just like that, for example, okay, you're giving the customer a reason then to schedule for. The customer's giving you a reason, so you're essentially giving them agreeing with their reason and setting the appointment based off of their need. That's fine, but you should not be preemptively doing that, because that's going to affect your issue rate and it's going to affect your demo rate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I like the word track that you said on the last training about how I'm Mr. Jones, I'm gonna save you a lot of time. I'm just gonna have them look at every window while we're here and just leave you with 2 separate quotes, so then you already know what to expect from us down the road.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You know whether or not we're the company that you want to work with. You know what I'm saying? That's what Mr. Jones. This is a planning process. Most of our customers plan these jobs out before they do them. I'm just going to have somebody come out and give you a quote on the house. That way you have that and you know whether or not we're the company to reach out to. I say basically the same thing when a person tells me that they're not doing it for 5 years or they're not going to do it for 2 years or whatever, even though the quote's good for a year. I'll say the same kind of thing to them. Well, Mr. Jones, most people that we talk to use this as a planning tool. They don't plan on doing the windows right now. What we do is have somebody come out and just leave you the free price code. It's good for an entire year. That way you know whether or not we're the company to do the work for you. Right. So yeah, it's you guys just got to think about this stuff and how it impacts the customer performance and what they're thinking about. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, so the first thing is, like I said, know your numbers like the back of your hand and make decisions off those numbers, not based on assumptions, but based on what you know. Okay, let me move this thing real quick here. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make these a little bit bigger too, so it's seen a little bit better. Okay, number 2, accurately. Oh, can't type today. Diagnose and address issues based on your production and experience with customers. Okay. So, and a big part of this is not going into things with a predetermined view. You cannot prejudge, because it's not going to allow you the ability to diagnose a problem to be able to fix it. Okay. That's going to cloud your judgment. Okay. So if for example, I'm in the job and I'm struggling to get leads, right? I had this guy come up to me. He's no longer here anymore, but he came up to me and he's like, well, what if I struggle with this job? Is there another position that I can move into? And I said to him, well, straight up, no. You know what I'm saying? Like you're putting this thing in front of yourself before you even start. That's not exactly good. That's not what we're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Or I guess does that not make sense is what I'll say. So you can't if that's the view that you have going into it. I don't know what's going on here. I can't fix my problems. I have no idea. If that's the view that you take, guys, then you're I can tell you right now, you're not going to succeed turning your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not going to work out. So you have to look at your numbers and you have to diagnose them properly, and then you have to work towards your advantage. Okay. So if you have a choice here, proper notation and covering of problems. How do I put this? At proper notation. Yeah, I think that's fine. Covering of problems needs to be driven, or preferably is driven by the team lead in the field through their daily notes. Okay. Now, so you should be, every time that you're worked with, you should be getting notes. Okay. You should be getting notes every time. All right. Now, these are not going to be typed out. All right. That would be unreasonable to ask a manager to type out notes every time they work with somebody. So they could be written out, but they should be addressed with you as well. You should be brought back into the office the next day to go over those notes, or later on that evening, depending on what you and your team lead decide. But that's what should be happening. Okay. I just need 2 seconds here. I got to fill up my water real quick. So let's just pause for 2 seconds. Okay, we'll continue. All right. So yes, so you want the team lead should be making notes for people. Now, again, like it gets busy and shit happens and stuff like that, and there's been days where I've worked with somebody, and I haven't gotten back to them right away on notes or something like that. And like that's a normal thing that's going to happen, guys. So I think that you have to be reasonable, but it should not be something that happens all the time. The general, like the way that it should work, okay, and if you're trained to be a team lead, this is of supreme importance because it's the difference between the success and failure of your team, literally. It drives me insane to see people doing things to actively work against themselves and their team. That's problematic to me, and it sucks, and it sucks to be on a team where that's happening too. And I've been there before, and so I get it. Like my team lead when I first started was awful. We never had notes, never, not one time did I ever get notes, not one time. But you have to feel comfortable, guys. It's acceptable to go up and say, "Hey, listen," in a respectful way. You don't need to do this in a disrespectful way. Hey, man, I haven't gotten notes the last couple of times that we worked together, and I was just wondering if there was any way that we could sit down and go through this. Or by the way, too, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, it's perfectly acceptable for you to come to me and say, "Hey, listen, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble or anything like that, but I really want to get better at this, and I don't feel like I'm getting the proper information to make me better at this job." Right? It's perfectly acceptable to do that. Absolutely is. You're not going behind anybody's back. You're not doing anything wrong when you do something like that. It's just a reality. You're not doing anything wrong when you do something like that. Okay. So just, I want to get that out there because I feel like it's of utmost importance for people to understand that, because I think a lot of people pigeonhole themselves and whatnot. And part of being great at this job is making sure, guys, I had to fight back. When I started in this job, it was a struggle for me to be successful because of myself and because of my team lead. Let me explain a couple things to you guys. This guy, his name was Dustin Johnson. When I first started on his team, I was a 20-year-old kid. I had no idea. He was about 30 years old. He had all the guidance in the world. He had been doing the job for years for different companies. I was his first employee. I had no idea what the job was supposed to be like. If starting on his team, you would have thought that it was such a bullshit thing, that it was completely irrelevant, the job, and it was just an hourly pay job. Because the dude would write one lead and go into a Taco Bell for the rest of the day. Write one lead and go to the beach for the rest of the day. So it got to the point where my girlfriend at the time, she got pregnant, and I said, I can't deal with this anymore. I need to work. You know what I'm saying? And I started to drive performance, and he was mad at me. He was mad because I would not participate in his bullshit anymore. I would go, "Hey, listen, just drop me off and go to the beach. I don't care what you do, but I need to work." And I started doing better and better and better. One day I went out with another team, and the manager was like, "Listen, I think you can be really good at this. I'm going to work with you a little bit." Worked with me, gave me some notes. By the way, my average went from less than a lead per day to 4 leads per day for the next 30 days. Per day, every day. I hit 4 leads every day. Well, an average of 4 leads every day that month. It was the first time anybody had ever averaged above 3, ever. You know what I'm saying? In the history of the entire company. And so it was like, wow, this just one day of notes, one day of genuinely walking with me and giving me notes made such a difference. So eventually I got off the team, thank God, when I got into a management role, right? All of a sudden, a couple months later, my friend Timmy Richardson and Brandon Ouellette, they're on that team, and they're about to get fired. I'm sitting in the managers' meetings listening to this guy, Dustin, say, "Yeah, I think I need to let these 2 guys go because they're not performing, so on and so forth." And I'm sitting there thinking, God, I know that you're not working with them. I know that you're not doing the right thing for them. And so finally, I went to them and I said, "Guys, this is not okay." And they both agreed. And so I went to Wayne, who was the guy who ran the department. I said, "Hey, listen, I don't want to be a snitch here, but these guys are my friends, and I know they can do well. I know they can." And so Wayne said, "Okay, listen, I understand, but I really need them to come talk to me." So I talked to them. I said, "Hey, go talk to Wayne. He'll be open to talk to you. Go talk to him." So they did, but they really hid the bullshit. They're like, "We just don't think that Dustin can effectively manage us anymore." So he switched both their teams. Guys, their performance went from less than 3 demos per week to over 7 demos per week instantly. I didn't even need to work with them on the road. I mean, I did, of course, but I didn't even need to. There was enough there. They were good enough where that's what they should have been getting the entire time. So eventually Dustin got let go because this continued to happen with different employees. he continued to act this way with employees. So it was this guy, Brian Smith, finally, that was getting let go, that went to Wayne and was like, listen, this guy's never worked with me one time. So, and I remember that day like it was yesterday, man. I remember Wayne being so quiet. It was a Saturday. We work Saturdays then, and like as part of the schedule. And Wayne goes down, doesn't say a word to anybody for like 20 minutes. Dustin pulls him like right at 9 o'clock. And Wayne walks downstairs, and Dustin's in his trunk going through stuff. And you see Dustin look up, and Wayne slam the trunk door and go, "Get out of here." And I never saw Dustin again, but it was crazy. So my point is that, I'm sorry, I haven't eaten anything. I'm just snacking on a Chinese food cookie, fortune cookie. I guess I can at least finish that first for respect to you guys. So what I realized through that, is that the importance, guys, of being part of a team, right, is doing right by your team. Especially if you desired moving into a leadership role. Doing right by your team means not working against your team and working to help your team lead. The best way that you can help your team lead, help you, is by being honest with them and speaking with sincerity about these issues if they exist on a team. If your team's not role playing every day, then that's a good issue to address. Just ask your team lead for time and help them out with that. So my next note here is have great communication with the leaders of your office and department to drive your results through coaching. And in my, like, this is a great example of this, by the way, is Chase, right? So when Chase first started, he struggled a lot in the job. But anytime I'd put out one-on-one availability, he would grab, like, he would say, okay, can I do this spot and this spot? And then he would do things like he'd go, hey, can we go grab brunch or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Outside of here. And the purpose was to get better, was to be coached to get better. And that made a big difference because we would spend time together, talk about the job and what his struggles are. And I knew no matter what, this guy's trying really hard to get better. And so no matter what, I was never going to let him go, obviously. And he got better over time. So take advantage of that. Will, you remind me a lot of that, where I'm like, we can follow up next week if you want to. Like, I don't know if there's more things to go over, and you're just like, yep, just what time? Like, tell me now. Instead of doing the whole like, yeah, we'll just see next week. You're like, yeah, what time can I do it? That's going to make a difference. It's going to make an impact on your career because the more check-ins and information you have, the better off you are. Okay, so keep that in mind, guys. Stay up with your managers. For you guys that I've had experience with, I'd say that this connection, I'm happy to work with anybody, but to me, the people that are on this meeting right now, especially, and look, I know you might have stuff to do, so you're not on this, and you're like, damn it, I want to be, but I can't, or you're on the road for that matter. That's fine. I'm not saying that you don't have that. Just attend as many meetings and training as you can. Get as much information as you can. When you're consuming information and it's causing you to be more successful, it's like a drug. It's like you're putting a drug into your body, a natural high that's going to make you feel so much better and do so much better. It's hard to understand through words. And so just keep that in mind, guys. Okay. Now, what should the proper notes look like? I mean, every manager has their own way of doing it. So I would not say that I would hardly put, I don't think it's fair for me to go, there's one way to do this. This is the way that it should be done. But I'm going to give you an example of what I've done for Canvasser. We're going to go through that real quick. Okay. And what I want you to think about is, as I go through these notes, pretend like they're notes for you. And I want you to think about whether or not reading these now, almost 3 years after they're written, if they were for you, would you understand what you need to do? Would you understand what you struggled with? Okay. So imagine these are your notes. All right. First note, voice tone and body language. Elevate your voice tone to a higher level so the customer feels your confidence, and keep strong body language. Move around a bit more. Point to the window problems. Point to the job that we could be doing. The second time I was with you, this got a lot better, but there was still some exceptions. Like when you told a single woman with children to walk out of the house so you could show her the problems. Just be careful how you phrase these things. Okay. If you got that note 2 years ago, would you be able to read it and understand it today? Right? It's clear there's an example there. All right. So it makes it a lot easier and a lot more clear. Number two, interact with the customer. Make more personal connections with the customer. These don't need to be in depth, but just make them sincere and fun. Find interest in the customer's life. Okay. So what's left out of there is it doesn't matter what you think or what you like. It matters what the customer likes, right? What it says there is find interest in their life, not common interest in their life. Okay. So, does that make sense? Could everybody take that note and understand what it means? Right? Don't worry, I take the silence as a yes. And what I meant specifically for that person is, if you can imagine right now, picture this Isaiah, okay? You don't know what they look like. Imagine it's you, okay? What I want you to think about is, imagine them at a door, okay? These are the notes that I have for them. Why? What are they going to be doing at a door to cause these notes to happen? They're probably standing there pretty straight, right? Like they're not giving a lot of body language. Obviously, their voice is low. They're not speaking loudly. What I call speaking with authority, okay? They're not doing that. They're not moving around. They're very tight. You know what I'm saying? And it shows to the customer, okay? You can tell this from the first two notes. The second one, making personal connections. They're just going through the motions of the script. They're not doing any personal connections. Anything would work better than what they're doing. I'm not someone that thinks that you need personal connections. I think that you need to have common sense, okay? So when you walk up to a house, what is different about that house? What does that customer care about? What kind of things are important to them? If they have one of them signs up that says, you know, congratulations, Jenna, for your graduation, right? Then, hey, is that your daughter? Congratulations. That's awesome. It's going to be great to see your kids, kind of move on. Are they going to school, whatever, going to college, whatever. Just make a nice comment about it, right? Don't go, oh man, like cars are an iffy thing because a lot of people with decent cars still don't give a shit about their cars. You might, but you could say to that person, hey, Mr. Jones, this car, what I've said in the past, okay? When it was honest, by the way, too. Hey, I just got to ask you, Mrs. Jones, I see the Acura out here. I'm looking for a new car for my wife. Does this drive well? Does this have third row seating? Specific things, right? That are gonna create conversation. That's what I mean. If they did great landscaping with their house, did you do this yourself or did you have somebody else do it? Right? That's also a great question. So you can see this person at the door and where it's impacting them. And that leads me to the third note. Stop going through the motions. You don't have faith in yourself and it shows. You need to gain confidence for yourself to effectively deal with customers. So the first two notes, right, create that third note. The person is not confident. You can tell they're not confident, right? They're just going through the motions. And the example, a good example of this is when at every door you go through the same scripted structure. You went from age of the windows, got rejected, went to the doors by asking, do you have any problems with your doors? After you got rejected, you gave the same half-hearted value of the visit. You're doing this because you feel like it's the right thing to do, not because you believe it's going to work, and that's crushing you. Does that make sense to everybody? When you read those notes, is there anything that you're confused about? Pretty straight on, right? Okay. I'm going to pretend like I'm this canvasser. Will, I want you to play this customer for me. Okay.
Got you.
So I'm going to go through and ask you about the windows. Okay. The age of the windows, even though I don't really ask that. You're going to reject me. I'm going to ask you about the age of the doors, and you can see where this conversation is going. Okay.
Hold on, run that back. I'm playing customer, or am I playing?
You're playing customer.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to do this the way that he was doing it at the door. Okay.
Hello.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Duffy. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. Are you Mr. Jones?
Yeah, but I'm not really interested.
That's okay, Mr. Jones. We just did some work in your neighborhood over on 123 Main Street. The reason why I'm here is it looked like you had older vinyl windows. But how long have you lived in your home?
Look, I just said I'm not interested, dude.
Yeah, that's right. So you could say I'm going to go through it like this, anyways. But I want you to do it at specific points because that's where he was doing it. But I'm gonna. So you see where I wrote right here. A good example of this is when at every door you go through the same scripted structure. You went from age of windows.
Yeah, did I not reject you at the age of the windows?
I didn't ask the age of the windows yet.
Okay, my bad. I've been here for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. Okay. And how old are the windows here, sir?
Look, dude, I'm actually really not interested though.
Okay, sir. Well, do you have any problems? We do doors as well. Do you have any problems with like your patio doors or
No.
Okay, well, I'll just tell you, sir. Then I'll before I go, I'll just tell you. And I have this information here for you to give you. But we're going to be in your neighborhood, just giving out free price quotes to some of your neighbors. And if the quote's good for a year, and so if you have any interest in that, just let us know. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
All right, you as well.
So that's what the person was doing at the door, right? Low tone of voice. You know, I don't mean low like low. I mean low like that's terrible. I can't do. But I mean like low like not elevating their voice, right? Monotone, okay? Monotone, not moving around at all, which you can hear through the voice as well. Not making any connections and just going through the motions. Not giving rebuttals, just going, okay, how old are your doors? Now let's do the same thing, Will, but let's do it in a way where we'd like to see somebody do it, right? Okay, so play the customer for me.
Gotcha. Hello.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Duffy. Mr. Powers?
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Powers. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We just did some work for actually your neighbor, Mrs. Smith, right down on 123 Main Street. The reason why I'm here is it looked like you had the original vinyl windows. How long have you lived in the home?
Oh, I've been here 6 or 7 years.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm talking to a lot of your neighbors, and you know, it seems like a real nice neighborhood, but a lot of them have had their windows replaced because of drafts and hot and cold spots in the home. Would you say that's more of an issue on the front of the home or the back of the home?
To be honest, dude, I mean, thank you for telling me. I didn't know so many of my neighbors were feeling that, but I'm not feeling it anywhere, to be honest.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're not feeling it. Can I ask you, sir? You've been here for 6 years. What kind of windows did you have in your prior home?
So before we moved, I would have to guess probably a couple of woods, but mainly vinyl there as well.
All right, so you're probably used to the lack of energy efficiency then. So for you, it might not be as much of a draft or a feeling of draft, and maybe it's more just having to deal with higher energy bills. That being said, a lot of your neighbors have also had issues opening and closing their windows. It's a very common thing around here. Would you say that that's more of a severe problem or just kind of normal for you?
Kind of normal. One's a little slippy, but I'm not worried about it.
Okay. All right. Well, and I appreciate that, sir. Another common problem, and I wanted to point out while I was here, I noticed on the bottom of the windows here, right, there's a little bit of like mold buildup, which you can just wash away, honestly. But the problem is, sir, there's these things called weep holes, and you can see them at every house. They have these two little holes there in every window, and they're supposed to drain the water, but the water builds up inside of those, causing that mold to grow inside of the windows, which is very difficult to deal with. Okay, that being said, it looks like you're eventually going to have to do something with the windows. May I make a suggestion?
Of course.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
you pointed out the mold. I can't deny that.
100%. One of my foremen, sir, what they would do is they come out, they take a look at your windows. If we can't be a service to you, that's fine. We'd recommend someone else who can. But if we can help you, then we'll show you our windows, check your windows, and leave you with a free price quote. That way, you at least have the information set aside for if you ever decide to do this. Now, does that at least sound helpful to you, sir?
I mean, yeah. I never saw the mold, to be honest.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause there. Okay. So, but you see the clear difference, right? In voice tone. Even when I'm speaking like that, it makes me point. It makes me go, we just did a job for Mrs. Jones, because I'm so used to doing that, right? Okay. So let's just role play out this one thing. You're this single woman, okay, with child, and you're at the house, and I want you to take a look at a window. Okay. I want to show you the window. Okay. So
Sure.
we're going to do this two different ways. So I come out, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll start it. So how long have you lived in the home?
Only like 3-4 years.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Jones, if you could come outside, I just want to show you something real quick. If you can come outside, on your window.
I'll check it out later.
Yeah, it's weird and creepy, right?
Yeah.
It's weird and creepy, right? You picture so now let's do it this way. Okay, so how long have you lived in your home?
20 years, actually.
Okay. All right, great. Well, Mrs. Jones, I did want to point something out to you. I don't know if you can see it from here or not, but right on this window right here, there's a significant amount of warping, especially on the bottom. I can show you if you'd like, or just describe it to you. Which would you prefer?
I have my kid like right behind me. Like I'm holding him
Oh.
back with my leg. He's
Yeah,
my
no doubt.
idiot
Look,
7-year-old son.
I got 3 little ones myself, so I definitely understand. I'll just tell you about it then. So it's on the bottom of the windows. I think I see it on the rest of the windows too, but it's definitely this one right here that's warping pretty severely. Okay, so you see the difference there, right? I mean, it's like a clear difference, right? One's not forceful. By the way, what I would do physically is step away from the door to show them so that there's room for that person to come up. But so think about this, guys. If you're this person that I'm walking with, Isaiah, right? Think about the value of those notes and how much of a difference it makes, okay, when they get them. They go from realizing, okay, they don't know what's going on with them. They're going through the motions. Hey, I'm doing the script. What the hell, right? To having a complete change in the way that they talk to customers, right? And so it makes a significant difference, okay? So, and right here, I'm questioning that person's drive in the job, and that's fine. As I say to people, like, I guess I would ask this question. Would you prefer me, if we're sitting down in a meeting together, okay? Would you prefer me as somebody that's motivated? If I thought that you were losing motivation or having a difficult time or something like that, would you prefer me to go, okay, well, hey, look, here's a brief overview of what you can do to get better and then let you on your own? Or would you prefer me saying something like this? Hey, Will, can I be honest with you? Is that okay? Would you want me to be honest with you?
Yep.
Okay. You're showing an extreme lack of motivation, and I don't think that you're getting the most out of your day. Okay. That's just me being honest with you. Okay. I could be wrong, but that's going to prove out in the numbers.
Mhm.
What would you prefer? Right? What would you prefer? And to me, I would prefer the person going, hey, can I level with you here? And by the way, if you told me, no, I don't want you to be honest with me, then I would say, okay, you're doing fine. Here's what you can fix. Okay. And then I'd fire you in a week, right? I mean, like what do you want me to do? Okay. I think it's the value of honesty is important, especially in a job like this. Okay. So continuing to go through these notes, use the question, how long have you lived in the home instead of how old are your windows? So that's a no-brainer to me. That's a big one, but an easy fix. That's why I didn't put it as a first 1, 2, or 3 problem, and why it's not highlighted. Sorry, I'm keep running over my wire here. It's driving me crazy. Okay. All right. So next note. So it says we'll give you the opportunity to go deeper into the script with more information, and we'll give you relevant info for the customer, which we all understand that. Utilize problems rather like we polls, as I did, in other visual problems instead of asking 1 million yes or no questions. Point out the problems that you see and move on. This with this, avoid things like going through warranty with the customer who has original Windows. You're going to cut off a certain amount of customers by overcomplicating your script. Okay. All right. So. And then I actually say to the person in the notes, and obviously I went through with them as well. If you work on 2 things per day or week and make changes in the highlight areas first, then you're going to see an instant change in your numbers, right? So if you go through those 2 highlighted things first, you work on them, and then you work on these other things throughout the weeks, you're going to see an instant change in your numbers. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions about that? Now, the reason why I'm going through this is because the last thing I'm going to put in this video, and then I'm actually going to start another one just because the time I'm going to go to 1 o'clock on this one because I said I would. I'm going to go over and do a brief other one that I will post to GroupMe, so you don't have to be on it if you don't want to be. But I just want to give an overview of a couple different things that are very important to the job. I just don't want the recording to take too long because it will take forever to be able to post it, if it even works. So my last note on here is if you are not getting the results you need from training, there is a system to follow. Okay. So if you're not getting the results that you need from training, the first thing that I would do is I would look at how you are taking information. Meaning, are you taking it too personally? Okay. Are you not changing anything? Do you feel like you have a better way? Do you not believe that you actually have these problems? That's a real thing, by the way. I remember the first time I was walking with Dustin, and because I did not respect him as a person, by the way, he would hang out with me and drink with me. We'd go to his house and get drunk. He would straight up abuse his kids in front of me, like hit his kids in front of me. Not like beat them to death, but like slap them if they did something like not even bad. If they were cutting into his drinking time, then he would do that. So like I had no respect for him as a man, as a person. You know what I'm saying? And so it was hard for me to take training from him. That was his own fault. However, I will say this, that the other part of it, the difficulty taking training from him, is that I didn't think that he was sincere at all. And so I'll never forget going to a house with him and saying something stupid like, "Are you sure?" or something like that to a customer. And he said it to me after we left. He's like, "Dude, you can't do that. You got to rebuttal. You can't say, 'Are you sure?'" And I literally said to him, "I didn't say it. I didn't say it." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "I didn't say, 'Are you sure?'" He's like, "Yeah, you did." I'm like, "No, I didn't." I didn't believe him. I did not believe him. He had literally lost that much credibility to me where I did not believe the things that he was telling me about my pitch. And it was only when a couple of years later I was working with somebody, and it wasn't the same situation. I didn't drink and beat my kids in front of them, but I was working with them, and I said to them, "Hey, listen, you really could rebuttal more. You only went through 2 rebuttals." And the guy says to me, "I've been doing 5 rebuttals at every door." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "What rebuttals were you doing?" And he named 2. And then he struggled to name a third one, And I'm like, and I was like, wow, it's tough when you're involved in a pitch to understand exactly what you're doing. You could sound like the best thing in the world. It's kind of like singing in the shower, right? I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said to her, I was like, look, I believe that there's one karaoke song for each person in the world. Like, even if you're a shitty singer, each person has one song, right? And you just got to try hard to find that song. Mine, you know what mine is? With You by Jessica Simpson. I can let my hair down. I could say anything crazy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible singer, first of all. That wouldn't be my song if there was one, but I like this song. It's a good song. I could go with Jewel as well. Jewel, You Were Meant for Me and I Was Meant for You. That one. That's a good song too. But anyways, I'm gonna listen to that shit right when we get done this meeting. I'm listening to that. We're gonna take a 5-minute break to listen to that. So I love that stuff, man. It's so funny. Korn and Jessica Simpson. Just that one song though. So I'm kidding a little bit, but it is like that. It's like you can't you sound good to yourself, but you know there's a problem. You know if you're being honest with yourself, there's an issue there, right? You have to open up a little bit to training. Okay. So you have to look at how you're taking the information, and we'll do it like this, and what you are doing with it. Like if you just take notes and throw them to the side, right? And you don't actually track your changes, what you should be doing, we're talking about next level canvassing here, guys. This is what's important. What you should be doing is taking those notes, working at them, and crossing them off as you feel like you have gotten better with them. When you work with your manager the next time, you should hand that list back to them and say, hey, this was your list last time. Can you please check off what I've done, right? And what I need to do. Okay. And that's the ideal way to do it, because you're going to get a healthy amount of good information from that. You're going to be able to track what's working and what's not, what has actually made you better and what hasn't. And if you go through that whole checklist, right, and you got nothing, and you believe that you've done everything and your manager does, then that's when we need to probably work together and see what else we need to do. Okay. All right. So the next thing. Examine the frequency of notes. Are they the same? Are they the same every time? That's good. The reason why I say that is because there's two reasons for that. One is that you're not making the changes. Okay. The other one is that the manager doesn't know what to do. They don't know where to go. And by the way, sometimes that's not their fault. Okay. Sometimes, guys, here's the harsh reality of management is that sometimes a manager and an employee just don't mesh the right way. And it makes it more difficult for the manager, not for the employee, but the manager to understand what they're struggling with. And then they have a difficult time training them. And then at that point, that's when all parties might need to look at, hey, should we switch a team? It's nobody's fault. Nobody hates each other. No one's against each other. But should we maybe give somebody else a try working with this person to try to make them better? Because at the end of the day, we want to retain people. We want people to do well. And it's not like you're saying anything bad about your managers. Just maybe they don't get you. Maybe they just it's not resonating or working. Okay. And probably the most important thing is any of you can do this without any supervision whatsoever. Okay. Meaning that you can all focus on making yourselves better, and you don't need a manager to do that. It's just they are very helpful in doing that. Okay. If they are. All right. But you can record yourself, record your pitches, come in early. Okay. And do the things to make yourself better. And that's what's going to make a big difference. Okay. So what we're going to go into, guys, when we rejoin, and again, I can post it I'm going to post to the group me anyways. Let me just get this started here. I'm going to stop recording, so that way we're not recording anything we don't need to. Know why this is still recording. Let me see. Okay.